Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another edition of the Cave Hour. You know what I was thinking of doing for an episode of the Cave Hour was it was going to be called the House Hour, and it was going to be Unga Bunga, the caveman from episode 2, but he came to my house and interviewed me. But it's not really an interview; it's just me appalled and shocked that he followed me home from the cave. I don't know. I thought it would have been funny, but I wouldn't want to waste a week's episode on that when I could be, talking about way more entertaining things than that. I don't know. I think much like the Unga Bunga segment in general, it's one of those ideas that's just funnier as an idea than it is to actually have to endure. But anyways, if this is your first time joining us in the cave, then you probably got no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but that's okay. Because I don't know what I'm talking about either. That's kind of the whole point of the Cave Hour. It's hanging out in a cave, not for an hour, despite the name, and just chilling, just hanging out, bros, and, like bros doesn't just mean men. Women can be bros too, or whatever. I don't know. I'm woke as fuck, actually, so... I feel like I'm bringing kind of a weird vibe to this one so far. I'm playing it a bit fast and loose, which, in the interest of health and safety, if you're gonna go hang out in a cave where it's dark, it's slippery, there's like weird slopes and spikes and jagged, bits. The cave's a dangerous place. I should probably reel it in a bit. I've only come to the cave 3 times, but I've noticed that each time I come, I get less views on each on each installment, and I guess people haven't caught on to just what a huge paradigm shift in the entertainment industry at large cave-based audio entertainment is. I mean, I imagine the first episode people clicked on it because they thought the Cave Hour was like maybe a cool indie game that I was playing or something, and then they click on it, get like 2 minutes in, they're like, he's still talking. Like, is he gonna start playing the game? What is this? And then they get bored and leave. And then people who watched episode 2, if they watched the first one, are probably like, that it couldn't possibly have been what he meant to do in the first episode. Maybe by episode 2, he's like, got his shit sorted. And then they realize, like, no, it's still just him talking shit. I'm out. So the 9 views that I have on the third one, one of them's me, like proof watching it, and then I imagine that no one's watching it in one sitting, so it's probably like 2 people out there listening to this. But you guys are the real. I don't. You know how like streamers and stuff will have like a name for their audience? Well, you guys are the real cavemen, cave women, and cave them. I might need to work on that. I kind of want to... Cave people. You guys are the real cave... It's not catchy, but it's, it's politically correct, I guess. So I got to imagine that the title of last week's episode wasn't a great selling point either. It was just called Depression, which... I mean, I don't know who opens YouTube to watch a video called Depression. That was kind of a bad marketing play on my part, admittedly. But you know what? I thought it was a really interesting topic, and I stand by it. So, but maybe to counter, like to sort of balance it out, this episode we should talk about happiness. I don't really know how to do that quite as well as I know how to talk about depression. As a person who plays Dead by Daylight, I know a lot more about depression than I do happiness. So this might be tricky. I kind of don't want it to feel forced, but it's fine. 9 viewers, the stakes are incredibly low. We'll try it on. But I mean, like, what am I going to sit here and just list things that make me happy or bring happiness to my life? I think the roadblock that comes up for me, that stops me from doing that, is just feeling like I'd be kind of either bragging, or I'd be listing things that are so really like inaccessible and vague, and like it wouldn't be entertaining. Like if I said my dog brings me happiness, like fucking duh, that's the whole point of a dog, right? But it's alright. Okay, well, how about let's all just take a second and think about what is the happiest moment from your entire life. Simple. You know what comes to mind for me? Because I can think of times in my life, like periods or chapters even, where I'm like, yeah, no, that was a really happy time. But when I really think about it, it's sort of a rose-tinted glasses, nostalgia-fueled happiness. But when it comes to picking like one moment, the one that comes to mind is from, I want to say 2017 or 2018 maybe. I was at uni at the time, and I had just finished studying my favorite subject, and I was kind of dreading doing the rest of the degree after finishing this particular unit, because it was pretty much the exact thing that I wanted to do and the exact way that I wanted to approach what I was there to like study and the job I was supposed to be preparing for afterwards. I felt like I had found my calling and I had done the subject, and the rest of the subjects were just going to be boring, irrelevant nonsense, because I had already kind of made up my mind on my approach. But between finishing that subject, I think, and then starting the next trimester, there was this extracurricular class that was being run. It wasn't extracurricular, it was like students who had already like graduated, or they were doing their post-grad or something. I don't fucking remember. They had to do it to make up credits for classes they had taken that were no longer creditable, I guess. So it was like a 1 or 2 week kind of crash course in a bunch of different approaches to the subject at large. But there were no assessments, assignments, tests, or anything like that. It was just a really pretty small group of people. Like, I think there might have been like maybe 8 students at most who attended, and me and my friend from the class I mentioned that I finished, that I really enjoyed, we agreed to go just basically for the fuck of it. We weren't getting an extra credit. It wasn't extracurricular or anything like that. It was just an opportunity to like learn more, I guess. And we really liked the teacher who was running it, so that was a big part of it for me. And I would say the whole time I was there was like a very happy chapter about which I'm kind of nostalgic in a way. It was pretty much like a 9 to 5 study session, pretty much. But it wasn't for the purpose, like it wasn't to suit any particular curriculum. It wasn't like, there was no, like I said, there was no tests or assignments, so it was just pure learning for the sake of it, and we were there because we wanted to be there, aside from the people who had to make up a credit. But it was incredibly chill. And don't get me wrong, as much as I'm talking about like being some super nerd who's doing extra stuff, I have always hated school, which is kind of a whole separate conversation, but this was out of the ordinary for me, and so it really says something about how good it actually was that I did want to go and that I kept going. But like I said, I'm trying to narrow it down to like a single moment from my life that's like my happiest moment. And it's actually kind of a scary thing to say out loud to other people, even if you're not like here in the room with me right now. I know I'm putting this out there and that it's going to be judged by people. It's somehow easier to talk about depression and bad things than it is to talk about good things. I don't know, maybe it's like a form of trying to protect the good thing and keep it good somehow. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not saying you're not allowed to judge it or anything like that, which actually, you know what, I am, because that's one of the number 1 rules of the cave hour is there's no judging in the cave. So checkmate. But anyways, my shyness aside, for whatever reason, we were doing it was like a guided meditation of sorts. It was a mindfulness meditation where the teacher was the guider. I don't know, that's not a word. Just say guide, man. Guider. And anyways, the teacher was guiding us step by step through like I don't know how to describe it. I don't remember it in that much detail, if I'm being honest, but it was like, usually mindfulness meditations will take you step by step on a tour through your own senses and body. And it's a way to kind of check in with yourself and just notice what's going on in a kind of detached and safe way, so that you can pretty much be more whole and like one with yourself, I guess. But we were there for it felt like it might have been like a 45-minute meditation or something like that, with just sitting perfectly still and just allowing anything and everything that the senses were perceiving and picking up to happen without judging it or trying to react to it or anything like that. Anything from like just feeling the weight of yourself in the chair you're in, or hearing traffic outside, anything like that. Oftentimes when you're doing these kind of meditations, you'll become quite relaxed automatically. Like you'll notice tension in your jaw or your back or something like that. And then once you've noticed it, you'll find, even if you're not trying to react to it or control it or anything like that, you're just noticing it, it will kind of just soften up. But you'll realize like, shit, I've been carrying that tension around for God knows how long. It could have been just today, it could have been since, I don't know, since I was asleep, it could be like weeks. But in this meditation, it got to the point, because we, like I said, it might not have been 45 minutes. It might have, like, time might have kind of diluted in a way. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but I might have lost my sense of time. And it reached a point where the guide told us to become aware of, this is going to sound really weird, actually. He told us to become aware of our eyeballs. And I don't know if you've ever tried to just kind of neutral your eyes, but I think it might be the hardest part of your body to not control. Other than maybe like the jaw and tongue, like if you ever try and like relax that, there's only so relaxed you can get, because it feels like if you relax it too much, like your mouth's gonna hang open or something. I don't know, that's a whole other thing. But to become completely separate and detached from your own eyeballs is a very strange sensation. And sitting there with your eyes closed, having checked in and like noticed everything about your body up to that point, except for your eyeballs, you become aware that your eyeballs are just these two crazy little fucking balls in your skull, in your head, that fucking do. I'm sorry to any blind listeners out there, by the way. But like, they're just these like fucking looking things. I don't know. It's whack, man. And just really focusing and becoming fully aware and holding the information in the moment that, you know, your eyeballs take in light, and the light's sent to the fucking occipital lobe, and it flips it around and all that stuff. And then basically right at the sort of the peak of our awareness of all of this, the teacher told us to, like that in a moment he was going to get us to open our eyes, but the goal was, as he's, you know, insofar as we could, he wanted us to not move our eyes or try and control them, just let them take in whatever they are taking in, whether it be peripheral or direct. And immediately my thought was like, oh shit, what if I'm sitting across from someone and I open my eyes and I'm just like we're just making eye contact? Like, is that gonna be weird? Or like, what if this has been a prank and I've been the only one with my eyes closed this whole time, and when I open my eyes, it's gonna be like my mate standing in front of me with his like pants down, you know what I mean? Anything could happen. But what actually happened was, as I slowly opened my eyes and I had like completely neutraled them, I don't know how else to say it, the sun was setting. I was in Melbourne on like, I don't know, this 6th to 8th floor of a building, and the sun was setting and the whole room was sort of just lit up orange, and it was completely silent, and I was just not in control of anything but also in control of everything at the same time. The only things that I was sort of aware of or thinking about were in that room. There was nothing else. And it was a bit weird because I was sitting across from people, but it was really only like a second of weirdness at first when I opened my eyes, because I just really fit into that mindset of my eyes are just taking in whatever they take in, I'm not here to control it or question it. I'm just here to accept it and notice it. And that genuinely, that might have been just, I don't know, there was something so serene and silent and just crazy beautiful about that moment. Like, we'd had our eyes closed long enough that, I mean, before we started, the sun wasn't setting, and then you open your eyes and suddenly it's like this amazing sunset that, I mean, I had my back to the window, unfortunately, but it still basically had the same effect. It was just like this wow moment. I don't know how else to describe it. And that, I guess, kind of sums up my answer to the question that I made up in the first place, which is, what's the happiest moment from your life? I would have been 19 or 20 at the time. I am 27 at the time of recording this. And it's not that I haven't had happy moments between then and now, but I don't know, that's just what came to mind. And I haven't done this before on the Cave Hour, but if anyone would feel comfortable sharing their answer to the question, I would genuinely love to read that. If no one does, that's absolutely fine too. I just won't read them because they won't be there. But it definitely kind of feels like a vulnerable thing to do. Maybe less so in text, but it surprised me how hard it was to like talk about and be open about. I don't even know why. But you know what? I think that might just about do it for this edition of the Cave Hour. I still kind of don't know why I'm doing it, but fuck, it looks like I'm doing it. And this would be around about the time we would start singing the Cave Hour outro song, but I'm really not feeling it this time, if I'm being completely honest. It's not in a sing-songy mood, so it's just going to kind of abruptly come to an end. The Cave Hour.